eventually,
cool, man. I like your setup.
I eventually want to get better and more expensive
Are we
ones.
gonna be on video?
Yeah, yeah. So you can see yourself.
We can see this online.
Yeah, you will be.
Is your dad online too?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I just see it on the thing. So
It's not gonna be good because the camera is kind of crappy right now.
oh, that's cool.
But God, where do we start? I mean, let's talk about like your first job. How old are you when you first started working, and what did you do?
Oh man, so I probably can't remember the earliest. I remember my dad. He had like a cleaning contract, so it was like a side job for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he would take the three of us, me, my brother, and sister, and we would go to like this office building, and we would clean the office building. So I
Wait, so
probably
he's
had to
like a
be.
cleaning company then?
So yeah, I think he had like a friend that had a cleaning company or
Mm-hmm.
something, and they would have like these little contracts with like office buildings or
Mm.
whatever. And I think he just picked up like a building.
So were you doing this like late at night?
Yeah, and I think it was only like once a week, maybe like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. You'd go in there, you'd like empty all the trash, vacuum all the rooms. And I think it was kind of like our allowance,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of took us. I think just to kind of show us like some work ethic. But we all were in there and had like, okay, you do this, you do that, and I think he would like split the money with us.
And you were wait, how old? Like you said, 13?
No, I was
Or
probably like nine,
oh
10. Like
shit,
I
you're
remember
even
being
younger.
like young, and
Oh
I'm the
man,
youngest, so. My sister's probably like 13, 14. My
how
brother's in the
how
middle.
wild.
So,
I don't. All we did was pull weeds, and what my mom we moved like every year to a new house. The backyard was completely dirt, so she would get like 4 tons of rocks dropped in the front. We'd have to shovel rocks all day.
oh yeah, 'cause she does the
Um,
real estate stuff too.
yeah, and then dad would always be like, pull weeds, and we'd have to go out there with a screwdriver and fucking chip at the clay because it's
Yeah.
hard, and then we'd have to spray after we pulled them out, and
Damn.
that's how it was. I don't know. I got in a fight with Matt once because we did that, and he's like, "I'm not pulling these weeds," and he was probably like 9, and I was like 11, right? And so he punches me because I'm like, "No, we need to finish this. Dad's gonna get mad at us." And he walks across the pool, and I pick up a rock and throw it at him, and it hits him in the head, and just started pouring blood.
Oh god.
And I was like, Jesus Christ. It's like,
In trouble now.
oh, dude. It's like, Ruth called the cops. Cops showed up. He's like, I could charge you both with assault. And we're like fucking kids. And we're like, what? I just like almost, like, I thought, I was like, I just like almost killed my brother.
God, they cop.
Uh, yeah, that was traumatic. But that's how it was. Like, the tension. We were always fucking mad because we always had to do chores.
Oh yeah, we always had to do
But,
chores. I remember every Saturday my dad would cook breakfast, bathrooms,
just cleaning
vacuum
the house.
room, and then of course we all had like our days of the week. We had to. My dad's like, "I'm not getting a dishwasher. You guys are the dishwashers." So like we would have like rotating days, like washing the dishes, and then my job was always to sweep and mop
Hmm.
all the floors. So we always, I mean, always remembered cleaning or doing some type of work.
It's good, though.
Oh yeah.
That's something I value, though, looking back on it. I hated it as a kid, but I'm like, I go and most of the people I'm working alongside are like, this is miserable. This sucks. I'm like, it's just fucking work.
Yeah,
The more
like
you focus on the sad shit and the how shitty it is, the worse it is.
yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I
Um,
think it's definitely taught a good work ethic, and
mhm.
I'm like to be clean and kept and have my stuff together. So
Tidied.
tidy, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you were like 9. How long were you doing that with your dad then?
Mm, I'd say we probably did it like 2 or 3 years or something like that, and
Okay,
he
so quite
was,
some time.
yeah, for a little while. We always had kind of some type of job, um, just helping or doing something, like that. But yeah, I'd say from like maybe a couple years we did that, and then my brother and sister were older, so they lifeguarded and taught swim lessons.
And that's how you got into it at the rec place?
So that's how I got into it because my sister ended up teaching swim lessons. And then they needed aides to like
Mm-hmm.
volunteer. So I wasn't old enough to become a lifeguard. I think you had to be like 14 or 15. And I was like 12 or 13, and they needed aides. So
Mm-hmm.
I volunteered So I would just kind of be like in the water and like
Just making sure.
just making sure that little bad kid didn't fall off and drown or whatever. But then that helped me to kind of like get my foot in the door, and then just like a little practice or kind of know more about like swimming and the lifeguard pool
Mm-hmm.
um kind of job. But that got me in the door, and then by the time I was like 14, 15, I could actually take like the lifeguard training course, CPR, first aid, all
You're
that.
pretty much
I
set.
was pretty much
So
in the
you are
door.
CPR certified.
I'm not currently, but yes.
Just in case
CPR,
someone
AED,
freaks
all
out
that. Yeah, yeah.
on your barber chair.
Yeah, got it.
Um, so that puts you up to 16 then, or 14, right? 14, 15.
14, 15.
And how long were you lifeguarding then?
Man, I lifeguarded probably every year um of high school. So all through high school, that was like the best summer job. And then I want to say I did it my year of college. I want to say I was even pregnant with Elijah, and I was lifeguarding and teaching swim lessons. So I was 19, 20. And then I would want to say I went back when I was like 22, 23, and I did like my recertification because my
Mm-hmm.
my water safety instructor
Was expired or
lapse
whatever.
expired.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember having to go back in the
Oh, you
pool.
did that a long time. Are
Yes,
you a
I
good
did it for a
swimmer?
long. I'm decent. I'm decent.
I what I was I sink. Every time we're at a lake, I'm like I'm also wearing clothes head to toe because I hate
Oh,
sunscreen, and I just fucking sink. Like there's
yeah.
no hope.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know all the strokes. I mean, not to say I'm like good at them, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I could teach you and show you the strokes and how to perform them and
You're a
how
good
to not
good teacher
drown.
there.
Yeah, I liked it. I
So
enjoyed it.
so I guess 23 though you're lifeguard. That's crazy. I remember
Hmm.
Seville had lifeguards too, where we work at the kitchen at the pool, and they'd have lifeguards, and all the lifeguards were the swimming kids from like Higley or whatever high school was
Hmm.
going on. And my sister's friend did it for a while there. I'd be, always be like, oh hey Morgan, or
Hmm.
whatever. Um, but that's crazy.
It was.
I never got in that because I'm like everyone that you can tell is lifeguarding because they're tan as fuck. Like they're
Oh yeah.
where I would get destroyed if I decided to do that.
I think it was just like I didn't want to do fast food. I didn't want to like babysit
Did
or
it pay good?
anything. Yes, and it paid good for like the entry level
Mm-hmm.
kind of summer high school job. Because you got to think like your CPR, first aid, all that certified. So I want to say I at least was making like $10 an hour, $11 an hour
Yeah, at the
back
time, which is
then.
fucking great.
Yeah, which was like really good. And then swim lessons, you would make like a couple bucks more for like the 2 or 3 hours of lessons that they have like Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, whatever. And then if you would do like private lessons,
Mm-hmm.
you could charge essentially whatever you want. You just pay the entry of the
Yeah,
the pool fee, and then you charge whatever you want. So like if you're really getting some hours and getting a couple private clients, like yeah, you're for a high school
that kind of
student summer job, yeah.
did that help you out with developing relationships with barbering? You think? Like, did it help out with your social skills? You think?
Um, I don't know. I think like on the stand, like you're really not talking to anybody. You're not supposed to talk to anybody. It's just more like,
You do this way.
yeah, like watch, like making sure something doesn't happen before it happens, or like don't run, or okay, he's struggling. Like okay, get back to the
I
wall.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like with the private lessons though, when you're doing that, like, because I'd imagine you're probably socializing with parents of the kids and all that.
Yeah, I think a little. Just like the interaction, customer service,
Mm-hmm.
like talking about pricing or like
Mm-hmm.
the money exchange, stuff like that.
Yeah, it helps develop.
But I think too, I was just still young, so
Mm-hmm.
like I think you kind of get a pass. Like, oh, she's just here for the
She's
lesson.
just
Like,
she's
yeah,
just teaching my kid.
yeah. Like, I don't think people are like all go into depth, but I think it did teach. Like, definitely from that job, like because you work with so many demographics, like older people who come for like the water aerobics up until like
Oh, so you were
infant
like,
baby swimmer.
were you doing like, I mean, if it's private, like, were you ever doing like group private lessons?
No, not necessarily. Like I think the group lessons would be more like the swim sessions, where they come
I feel
sign
like
up
I've seen
for.
Zumba at EOS. That's what I
But
think about.
yeah, they definitely had like in the mornings or like midday they would have like the water aerobics.
Yeah.
So I wasn't teaching water aerobics, but like just being there guarding or like even taking a class or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So like dealing with those older patrons or like the younger people or the people who are bringing their babies to like the infant, parent class.
And this is all in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, how old were you when you moved to Arizona?
I was 27, 28.
Okay, so in between that, what were you doing in Colorado then? Because you were what, 23 when you finished guarding?
So I think guarding was like always like a go-to, and I
Mm-hmm.
always kept my certifications like up to date, so I could always like fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in between that, I mean, I had my son when I was 19. So
So crazy.
when I first moved, I started that lifeguard job when I went to high school, did that all through high school, the summer going into college. I remember moving away to college and I got in a couple of rec centers up there. And then I started me and my cousin were at a golf course
No way.
and we would have to get there like 3:30 a.m. because they would start,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bright
teeing
and
off
early.
so
Yeah.
early. So we would go, we would spray off all the carts, like the golf carts,
Oh, so
wipe
you were
them
a golf
down.
crew. You're making sure that shit was
Mm-hmm.
all like the caddy crew or
Yeah,
dude, so those guys made some money though.
yeah.
I know.
It was like okay hourly, but we got tipped.
Yeah,
And it
that's
was
where.
like one of like the upscale golf courses, like Pelican Lakes. It was northern Colorado, so it was like really upscale. So like we'd wipe the carts off, make sure like everything was okay on the grounds. I remember my cousin, he would pick up the balls from like the range in the little cart and we would just wait and for people to pull up. And as they pull up, we were kind of like, who could get there first? So pick up their bags, put their bags in the cart,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they needed, and then just kind of wait around and do that all morning, pick up. And then when they come back, clean their cubs, wipe them off, empty the cart, take them back to their car, and that's when they like tip you out or whatnot. Then go back, spray the cart down, just
Mm-hmm.
make sure, like,
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah,
yeah.
you're doing your job.
hmm
That has to. So is that where you fell in love with golf then?
Well, my family's like big into golf anyway, so I've kind of played golf probably my whole life. Always had
Shit, no
lessons.
way.
Um, I remember like being young, just having like we played tennis and golf. Those are like my main sports. And then I remember in high school, I played golf like my
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years. But I think like it just was always around, and like my uncle was a golf pro, my cousin was
What the
like
fuck?
my
I,
family's
they're
like
big into golf.
they're big golfers. So,
That's hilarious. I had
um,
no idea. I always was like, oh, Jay likes golfing.
no, and I'm probably like the worst and like out of everybody, but like they're like avid golfers, like
Mm-hmm.
that's their thing. Um, so I did that for a while, and while doing that, I was at a pizza shop. My cousin's best friend owns a pizza shop, and so I delivered
The
the
pizzas.
pizzas. So I would
No
work
way.
there at the nighttime and the golf course in the morning, go to my couple classes during the day.
Jesus Christ, you're hustling back then too.
Yeah, always. And it was cool delivering pizzas because it was like a mom and pop type spot, and so
Yeah.
they were cool. Everybody was cool, and kind of help prep the dough, make the ranch like big ass things of ranch and sauces, help cut
Mm-hmm.
stuff up. Sometimes I'd like answer the phones, but usually just like taking and dropping deliveries off. And I did that for like almost a year. Um,
Is that place still open too?
it is Pizza Street. It is still
Pizza
open.
Street.
I just seen Brian not too long ago. He's doing pretty
I gotta
good.
go to Colorado with you one of these days.
You do.
Experience that side of your early childhood and life.
And
But
you'd hear some stories, I'm sure. But yeah, we can definitely go back.
mm-hmm.
So I did that at the pizza shop. Um, Lifeguarding, the golf spot. Ooh, and then I want to say I moved back. I did 1 year of school, and it was just like in a small town. I was like, kind of like ready to venture off. So I moved back home, I think, for the summer. And then I ended up meeting Elijah's dad and
Mm-hmm.
getting into that situation. And then I started lifeguarding again. When he was born, I think I didn't do anything for like the first year. And then I went to a daycare. They were doing like a before and after school program.
Mm-hmm.
So for a couple years I did that, and it was just kind of like the kids who go before school, come after school, just make sure they do their homework, give them a snack, make sure
Mm-hmm.
they're checked in, checked out.
Yeah.
Pretty basic. So that got me into like the daycare kind of setting. Which was I didn't really care. I don't really like other people's kids.
I don't like kids either. I
So
don't. I I tell Myra this where I'm like, I think I'm gonna like I hate other people's kids
I do
actually
too.
most of the time. Where maybe when I have my own kids, I'll like them a little more, but I don't know. Because people have different standards for their kids, and a lot of fucking kids are rude, and
Absolutely.
parents don't give a fuck about it a lot of the time, and it's just ugh.
Yeah, and I think yeah.
Seville was bad because we'd have pasta night every Wednesday, and so we'd set up a whole pasta station where families would come in and they'd be like, I want this in there, and I want this, and you'd have like the snobbiest kids come in, and they would, I want this, this, and this, and then you make it for them. You're like, here you go, and they're like, bye, or they wouldn't even say anything, just take it and go. And it's like no manners, no politeness, no like thank you.
I
And
don't know how.
it's just
I don't
like,
know.
how are you
It's the
raising these
parents. It's the
people, man? It
parents.
irks me. Yeah.
Yeah, so that didn't last very long because I remember you could bring your kid there or something, and it was like half off or something, and
Mm-hmm.
which I really didn't need to, but it was like I feel like they were kind of pressuring me, like, "Oh, bring your son here,"
Mm-hmm.
but in all actuality, like they were just trying to get that other part of my check. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Oh,
Um,
wait, so you didn't get a deal? You didn't have like your kid for free?
no, like they still charge you,
What the fuck? But you're watching them for Christ's sake.
and it was like for what it ended up within like 3 weeks, my son had like whooping cough, like can and cow, just some
He
weird.
was getting all sick from these other
Yeah, he'd
kids.
come back with like scratch, and I'm like literally in like the next class over, and I like pick up my kid, and he's like
Like, what the hell?
mangled and just like what, like ugh.
Who's watching this kid?
Yeah. And then I think within like 3 weeks of him being there, I was like, we're just gonna go back to like the at-home babysitter who she doesn't speak any English, but like
She's
he's
way better.
better off
Yeah.
over there. And within the week, they're like, yeah, we don't think this is gonna work out.
For you? Oh
Yeah.
my god.
And so
That's
I
crazy.
think it was just like, and to like, I'm I'm bad with like my facial expressions, so if I'm not happy,
It's
like
obvious. You don't
yeah.
have a poker face.
So I remember one job, she was like, it does not look like you're very happy. Like you want to be here, Jay. And I was just like,
I don't.
I don't. So I think like, yeah, that job, something had happened with one of the
And
kids.
wait, so this is like, how old was Elijah at this time then?
He was barely one.
Oh, so he was,
He
so
was
you were
little.
what, 20 then?
He was like 20.
And so the whole golfing thing happened after you were 23.
No,
Or,
so I went to college and I was doing lifeguarding. Started at the golf
mm-hmm.
course, and so I did the golf course and the pizza shop while I was in that year of college.
Okay.
Then I went back home, and that summer, I can't remember what I did that summer, but that's when I met Elijah's dad.
Okay.
And then I don't think I did anything like that first year of him being born, and then went back to the daycare, started doing like the before and after school. So I did it with that daycare for a while. I went and did it with like Boys and Girls Club because it was just like an easy
Yeah,
job. I
so
had
wait,
my CPR.
how old were you at this time then?
So once I left the daycare, I was probably like 20, and then from like 20 to 22, 23, I was like Boys and Girls
Okay,
Club,
okay.
like just kind of like,
You started dealing with kids.
yeah, dealing with kids. And then I was just like, this is dumb. I don't want to do this.
I guess what's like the most valuable thing you learned doing that then? That like if you can think back.
Not to fuck with people's kids. No, I mean, it was a good learning experience, and I think it was just like, okay, this is something that I don't want to do. Like,
Yeah,
I
it was
know I
obvious.
don't like this,
You're
and
not going to become a teacher
yeah,
or an elementary school
I'm
teacher.
meant for more. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I just learned, like, it's not even necessarily the kids, it's the parents. And, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you're a bad kid because of your environment,
Yeah, your
or your
parents.
parents aren't doing anything,
Yeah.
or it just made me see how, like, I would see, like, divorced parents and, like, they're having drama, and it's like,
And it's affecting the kid.
yeah, they're just
Yeah.
affecting the kids. So I seen, like, a lot of that, or just, like, how people like are in general, just like I don't know about their kids
It's
and how
their livelihoods,
like yeah, you
everything.
got
So,
to see like a lot of people's situations
mm-hmm.
in like them picking up their kid or like who picked up the kid or who's coming or like who didn't come, who's late or like just kind of like being observant of different family types or dynamics and stuff like that.
I had to pick up Sean Jaden, which is Ebony's little boy
Mhm.
from school, and it's like, and Ebony's black, and it's so funny. Every time I go up there, I have his little number out in my truck, and all the teachers and principal and all, they're like, "Who the fuck are you?" Like this gingery guy picking on this little black boy.
Like, are you sure?
Yeah, they like you could tell the first time they're like hesitant. They're like, "Are we gonna give this guy this kid?"
Yeah.
And I remember telling Dad and Ebony that they both got a kick out of it. But that's what
That
I
is
can
funny.
imagine though. They're probably like going like, "Yeah, this Sean Jaden's getting picked up by a fucking stranger."
Like this
Yeah,
weirdo.
that's just so funny though. Where I don't even think like that, but they're probably I bet someone's over there thinking like, "Who the fuck is going like what's going on with this kid's life?" You know.
Exactly. Because
But
who knows what's going on with some of these
that's
kids'
so funny.
lives. But yeah.
And so you did daycare. Does that help you out when you're cutting like a child's hair, and how you deal with parents and that relationship? You think?
Um.
Like, do you ever have a moment when you're doing this? You're like, oh yeah, shit, I did daycare for like 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, going back to like, yeah, I don't fuck with kids.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
this
like,
is why I don't.
you'd
And
rather.
I think like even with haircutting, like it's not necessarily the kid, it's like the parent. Like,
Hmm.
go sit down and let them get a haircut. Like, it's usually like those parents who are like,
It
I don't
needs
know.
to look like this, and if it's not like this, then I want full refund or some
Yeah,
shit. They
or
go
just
crazy.
like your kid is gonna be okay. Like you can sit down. Like they're just getting a haircut. They're just like over, and I'm like, okay, now I gotta. Can I get this side? And like we're like kind of shuffling around each other. It's
Oh
like,
yeah, that's awful.
hey, Dad, you want to go sit down? Mom, like he's okay.
Hmm.
But I think that's just parents just being like too much with their kid,
Hmm.
like or like just bring them in more often and get them a regular haircut, and then they wouldn't be afraid of me.
I don't know. And dude, we never got haircuts when we were kids. Like I
Really?
think we'd occasionally go to Great Clips, but that was yeah. After my parents got divorced, we'd go to Great Clips, and my mom would be friends with the girls cutting our hair or whatever.
Mm,
But prior to that, it was like okay, buzz in your hair, you know. And I
yeah.
remember my teachers would. I had like a couple of my teachers like, "What happened to your hair? It was so beautiful." I'm like, "It just got buzzed off, you know." But
You're like, all
sorry,
right, just tell me to sit
this isn't
down.
my house. I'm not
Yeah, I'm
no
not
ownership
running
of
nothing.
myself. Yeah, but fucking wild. And so you did that up until what? You're 23, and then we're still three or 4 years out before you moved to Arizona.
So then I did a lot of like CNA kind of tech work. So I was like I worked at an Alzheimer's dementia unit for I'd say like 3 years. Like it
Wait,
was
and you
just
were doing CNA stuff? You were like
hmm
cleaning people and
yeah,
shit?
like I really took CNA class.
Oof.
And it was like my homegirl was a stand-in manager for a minute and she
Mm.
worked at this spot. It was like a assisted living. And she was like, Jay, like, come through. I got you. You need a job.
But
And I was like, I don't know if I want
they
to
don't
do
make enough money for that.
it.
Yeah.
And she was like, Jay, like, this is cool. And I think it was like maybe 11 or 12 an hour, if that. It wasn't bad. And I remember, like, I didn't need any certification or anything initially. She just kind of hired me. Like, she had some pool
So
right there.
yeah.
And then she got me into her unit, which was like the Alzheimer's dementia unit. So it was cool because I really learned and I like enjoyed taking care of people and
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of being there. And like I think with those people, like they have no idea who you are, like they're completely out of it. So just like those moments where they're like,
Did you notice are they pretty happy though? Because I feel like that's one thing with Alzheimer's, right? Is they're typically like not really stressed out. They're just kind of like,
yeah, because I guess like their mind goes like backwards. So like they'll go, they're thinking they're like a little girl or a little
yeah,
kid,
how
or
wild.
so like they would say stuff or think you're, someone else, or
I had my uncle Phil. He passed like 3 years ago. It was my grandma's brother.
mm-hmm.
He had Alzheimer's, and I remember my grandma saying, "It's like that's the happiest we've seen Phil in like 12 years or something like that."
Oh,
Like he's just smiling, but
yeah. So like you're not even
he's
thinking
losing his
about
mind. But
you're
yeah,
not thinking
you're
about
not that
nothing.
stressing over, yeah, over your life.
So I did that for a while and I liked it. Moved around to a couple places. And then with that, like did some home healthcare, which is all generally the same shit. It's just like you're going from people's houses. And that was okay, but
I
that
can't believe you got into that too. Jesus
I
Christ.
can't believe it either, because like you're literally like wiping ass, cleaning up fluids. Like I'm
That was
getting
nasty. That's why I'm
like you know,
the stomach
the
tubes or whatever.
catheter
Yeah.
and like the stomach and like taking their bag out and emptying the shit in
Uh,
the toilet and washing it out. And like, oh god, splash on me. I'm, like this shit is nasty. Like bathing people, like I'm really like cleaning you and putting lotion, putting your compression socks on, and like taking care of you like you're a child. And I mean, essentially, like that's where you need total care. So like that was difficult, but at the same time like super rewarding, because it was like a lot of these people, like their families aren't there, or
mm-hmm.
like they're so far gone that they don't even know their family. So like I think a lot of the families just kind of like brush
Just
it, like
yeah,
yeah, well,
we're paying for this.
yeah, like they're at the home, they're good, they'll call us if something happens. So I think like at that, you're it for a lot of those people. And sometimes like some of those people I really built like strong connections with, and that was probably most like impactful as far as like barbering, like building that connection, because like I'm really like touching this person and like
Yeah, you're doing
comforting
some
and
more
like
intimate,
yeah,
uh, yeah, close things with them.
and like I'm grooming them, and like I'm literally like feeding you and wiping your mouth or showering you, bathing you, combing your hair, clipping your nails. So I think that was like, damn, I really like to help people, and like just people like feel better, or like, ooh, I feel better, or like
Mm-hmm.
thank you, or like for cleaning them up, or just like the little things that you wouldn't think of in someone, just in that moment where you're like, they're so far gone, but it's like a moment where they're like, thank you, or
Yeah,
like they knew, or just just like, oh, okay, like damn, this makes me
I
feel good.
I mean, I almost think that's like deeply rooted into our DNA is that physical touch and nurturing aspect of life.
Hmm.
Like even when you're a baby, like a baby's crying because it's fucking shit its pants or whatever,
Yeah,
but the second they're cleaned up, they're good, they're happy, everything,
yeah,
life's great. And it's probably the same way when you're losing your mind. That shit's
yeah.
still embedded in your brain.
I think so too.
How crazy. And then I guess what Elijah would have been 3 or 4. Were you a single mom doing all this at
Hmm.
this time too? Or
Yeah,
was his dad still active?
his dad. I think his dad was really always around. More when we were there in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. I mean, not necessarily like maybe it wasn't like the best situations
Yeah.
at times, but like yeah, he was more around, just kind of because we were there. Um, but I think like once he started going to school, preschool, I was like, okay, I need to like start like doing something with my life. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've been with his dad for a little while. Like, this isn't really like I know
Working.
where this is going.
Yeah.
Like, and so then I want to say I got into the hospital. So I was doing tech work. So basically CNA stuff, but you're called a tech. So I did like post-op and outpatient surgery. So when people come for like
I
their
can't believe you did all this
their
shit. How did I not know about
surgery,
this?
so I would take their blood pressure, take their temperature, their all their vitals, weight, all that stuff. Just check them in, make sure they're good in the room. And then just kind of like, you go to the computer, do your little,
Yeah, you're writing up
you're
notes and
writing your
all that
notes and
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then they would come back from surgery, make sure they're cool, everything. So I would go from there. And then there was a unit at PACU. So like immediately after surgery, like sometimes they would need help. So that was like, they're coming in from the surgery bed, like tongue hanging out, like just
Oh, out of it.
out of it.
Yeah.
And like, that's when you're like moving them from the other bed, hooking them up, making sure they could, warm blankets, food, ice,
Vitals,
all
everything.
vitals, all that. So I did that for like a year and a half.
What made
2
you
years.
not dive deeper into that field of medicine?
So my mom is an RN and my sister is an RN, and I think that's probably why, like, they pushed it, like, and they pushed that early on, like, out of high school, like, you should do this CNA program. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't do that.
Shout out to both of them though. Nursing fucking sucks.
Yeah, they're nursing nurses, that whole medical field, like, that's just like, for you to do that, like, is, yeah, props.
I feel like nurses are like trained cooks, where like cooking is a shitty job. You're not paid enough. It's very labor intensive. And nursing is like that, but you're just educated.
Right.
Where it's demanding hours, you're not paid nearly enough, and you do all the grunt work for everything.
It's like a labor of love. Like, you really have to love it. Just like cooking, like, that's your way
it's
to
the
show
passion,
your passion. So I did that for a while at a couple hospitals, and like floated around, do like oncology, the birthing unit, like just everywhere. So like that was cool to go to different units and then just like see people with cancer and be like, damn, like this is like
that's life.
Crazy. Or just, and then or go to a unit and there's like, this person is really crazy, and then like in a a straight jacket, and they're like in the bed, but they have like a cage, like a net around it, and like you're trying to change them and they're trying to bite you, and just like you're like, man, people are crazy. Or like, people with drug substance issues, or just anything, surgery, or people. Then it was like you got to see like people who like, I want to get better and like I'm gonna get out of here, and then people are just like,
I'm here. My parents put me here. Yeah.
So like that could be frustrating. She's like, damn, like, don't you want to get better? Don't you want to try? Like, don't you, But then there's also people who are like, I'm good, and I'm probably getting more attention here being sick than I would elsewhere. I don't know their reasoning, but
I think a lot of shit is attention based, where it's like, that love their parents didn't give them, or whatever, right? You do something, act out, just so someone will give you some form of satisfaction or attention.
For sure.
Does anything, like, is there a memory that stands out when you're doing all that hospital stuff, where like one patient, or if you were doing your CNA stuff where you developed a relationship with one patient?
So yeah, I say like there's a few patients who are like, just, we call them residents or patients, whatever. So a couple residents, they were just like so sweet, and just like they would like touch your hand or like rub you, and just be like, okay, like they may not know what's going on, but they're like in this moment, like you're taking care of them and they're acknowledging you.
They're
but I had one guy, I did him healthcare, and his name was Bill William, and he was a lawyer. And by this time, he was like cancer, like in the bed, like really couldn't do anything. And they had the bed like in the living room with like the couch and everything. So I would come every morning, and I think like I was just in a bad mental space, like with Elijah's dad, and just like with my life then. And I think like he just totally felt that, and like he was just so nice to me. Like, how is your day? Like, how are you? And like, what's
just
going
curious
on?
What's going on in your life?
Is everything okay? And like, it just make you be like, at first, like, you didn't want to say anything, and then it would be like, I think I remember times where I just started crying, just because it'd be like, man,
just he got you.
He would just be like,
crack the egg.
Are you cool? Like, and just like building that bond with his family and his wife, and like just going there every day and like changing him. And I think like too, like it's hard for them because it's kind of embarrassing, like someone's coming over and like, let me roll you over and wipe you and like clean you and undo this or what.
It's sad too because this guy, like, you can tell he's on his last
Yeah.
stretch of life, and that's fucking crazy. Is facing your mortality, and
And,
like, and then you're there easing that, whatever that next
yeah.
step into death is, or whatever it may be. It's
And so it was cool just to like he would tell me stories or like about him and his wife and like about his life and just how like, how they got to this point and their grandchildren and like, and like the family would come and like while I was caring and like they were just like really, really genuinely nice to me. And I think
mm-hmm.
like I don't know if he just seen it in me, but he seen like I was going through something and he just was like,
You okay?
"Are you okay?
Like,
Like I know you're here for me, but like
yeah,
what can I do for
yeah,
you
help
while you're
ease your
here?"
conscience. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember like they were nice. Like they would give me like a little extra, like here for this,
Oh, that's
a little
sweet.
holiday. Here we made you some cookies, or you know, anytime you say you have a kid or something, like oh take this to your son, or and I remember he like wrote a book. He was a lawyer, so he had like some book he published. I remember I still have it. It was his book, and he wrote in his book to me and signed it and
Oh,
whatnot.
that's sweet.
And I took care of him from like almost like 7, 8 months.
Damn.
And then one day I went over there, and the wife was like they didn't tell you. I'm like, tell me what? Like he passed away, and I
Oh,
just like
fuck. Yeah, you just
what?
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
it just and she was like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. We he loved you and we loved you and like you did such a good job and she gave me like a little money like here, this is, just cool, take care for you and your son or whatever. But like that was like just really meaningful how someone can like just I think like the connection, like you're
Mm-hmm.
touching someone and seeing someone every day and like the bond you could build.
Yeah.
And it's like too like even some of my clients like we would probably never talk on the street if you just seen me, you
No,
know? Yeah, even me and
I
you
don't
know what
have,
I mean? Like, would we ever really be friends if we didn't have this connection that we do at the shop? And I think, like, that was it. Like, you seeing past me and what I look like and seeing, like, okay, like, this is this person. And,
yeah,
like,
no, there's a relationship to be
yeah.
developed,
And
and
so that was, I think, probably the biggest thing. I was like, I really love taking care of people, making people feel good and smile and just like building that connection, which I had no idea like barbering would later,
eventually come to
yeah,
be. Yeah.
come to be.
And so you moved to Arizona, and did you hop into barber school pretty much? Like when was the first thought where you're like, I think I'm gonna go to barber school?
So man, it probably had been like a good 4 or 5 years before I even like started barber school that I was like I think just kind of always being around people like my brother went to the barber shop when we were younger and I
Mm-hmm.
remember going to the barber shop and it was like this is cool and like everybody's talking and like everybody looked nice and sharp and had cool shoes on like just like the ambiance of the barber shop
Mm-hmm.
and then just like you leave the shop like you just feel good like I just remember my brother just be like walking
Yeah,
differently
he's
and like
proud. He's like
that
confident. It's a
confident and
fucking
being like, we always had like jobs younger. So I remember like my brother like go to his job and like I'm going to the barbershop. Like he paid for his haircut and so I think just going with my son's dad or like taking my son or even like me going to the beauty shop and it was just like, oh, I kinda like this. And I
mm-hmm.
started one of the lady that did my name or my hair, her name was Taz. And she had two boys, single mom, and she did hair and she would do my hair. She'd have like two or three females and she would kind of like while one is getting washed and one's underneath the dryer, she's pressing someone like she
Oh,
was
she's
just
going everywhere. She's
yeah.
working it,
And like
working it out.
I just I think like seeing her and seeing like how she took care of her boys and took care of her house and like she was always at home cooking and like you know doing something her boys were in sports and she was at the shop and running around like so she was like just a great mom and like
Mm-hmm.
I seen like the type of money she was making and like I'm like damn I'm like okay like
We
she's
can do
doing
this.
good and I think like I always like I didn't go to college and like I didn't really know what I wanted to do and like I knew school wasn't for me
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like it seems like she's kind of got it
Figured
together
out.
figured
Yeah.
out and so I think I mentioned something I was like I think I want to be a barber like what do you think she was doing my hair one day and she's like hell yeah like do it just go like you could do everything you want to do.
I also think like you're the only female barber I've ever like seen,
Really.
honestly. But I'm
Huh?
also you were the second person to ever I'd say second barber to ever cut my hair, because other than that, I've always gone to fucking Gray Clips.
Right.
Which, going back, like, I think it was like a year after I was getting my hair cut by you, I went back once and I was like, oh my God, this looks like shit. And I was like, okay, never again. And I think I've been getting my hair cut from you ever since.
Okay.
Which is what we're going on, turn 25, that's 7 years almost, right?
That's crazy.
6 or 7 years. Fucking crazy.
Yeah. A lot of my clients are starting to come in, and I'm like, man. And the parents are like, yeah, well, you've been cutting him since he was 2 or 3. And I'm like, damn, he's like 7, 8 now. Like, that's crazy. Like, well,
kid.
he was the only person you didn't cry. Like, he didn't cry when we came, so we brought him back. And I'm like, all right, cool. Okay.
That's what life's about, developing those relationships that last.
For sure. So then I'd say, I just kind of seen how she was doing her thing, and then I think, like, I was kind of used to like faster money and like just how my son's dad was kind of doing his thing. So I was like, I don't want to like a job, and I think I had like tattoos already. My ears were gauged. I had dreads at one point, and I think every job was like, we like what you got going on, but like, can you take that out and can you cover this? And like, it was just so many politics about every job that I went to, or like, don't do this or don't say this, like, which is valid and I get. I think I was just like, I'm not happy, and like,
yeah, you don't want to have to hide any of that shit.
No, and my parents are like, you're gonna quit another job? Like, and I'm like, I don't like this shit. Yeah. Like, I'm not happy. Like, why would I be somewhere?
Life is fucking too short to be working a job you hate.
Absolutely.
That's the whole reason I'm doing this. It's like, I want something I love talking to people. I like hearing other people's stories, the work they're doing, even other cook stories. Like, every restaurant's like its own little family, and everyone has their own fucking drama. And it's like going into another little house and seeing what's going on. It's like, oh God, like, it's exciting. Yeah, it's like, fuck. And that's why, like, if this podcast does eventually just pop off, it will. I would love it. That'd be so cool. But
I could definitely see you as a podcaster. You got the podcast voice.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna do it though because I enjoy. Talking to people like you, and
I enjoy listening to everyone that you've had on so far. I've been like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to bring up people I like talking to, right? Yeah, and that's kind of the whole idea. But man, where were we? I just took us on a tangent. Barber school.
So yeah, I started kind of scouting out some barber schools, and I went to like 3 or 4, and they're like, okay, come check it out, and this and that, and you do the tour, and they're like, when do you want to sign up? And I just have like commitment issues. They're like, wait, what? How much? And what? Like, yeah, I'll hit you back up. And I did that like 2 or 3 times over like 2 or 3 years. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just like committing to something, And then I was at the hospital doing that tech work, and I was talking to this lady. And I think before I turned 30, I didn't really have a sense of time. I was like, a year, like 6 months was a long time, Which I'm like, I don't want to sign a year lease. Let me do 6 months, And then I was talking to this lady, and she's like, yeah, I've been here for 15 years at tech and da-da-da-da.
Like, oh my God.
And I was like, maybe she was like 10, 15 years older than me. She looked kind of younger, and I was like, 15 years? Like,
that was a long fucking time.
What? I couldn't even like fathom 15 years. I was like, you've been here for 15 years? She's like, well, I wanted to do such and such, but I didn't do it. And I just kept saying like, oh, once I get a little more money or another paycheck, or I'm gonna wait.
That person got you. She scared you into doing barber.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I want to do this. She said, you know what? You should do it, but you're gonna have to quit this job. And I was like, what? She's like, it's never gonna be the right time unless you just go do it.
I know, and she got a raise after you quit.
She probably did. She's probably still there too. Bless her heart. Hopefully she's a nurse or doing something. Yeah. But I just was like, I can't do this. Like, and I knew like nursing was good and it's like very like honorable or career to have or whatever. But I was like, I don't want that much responsibility in my hands. And then it was just more like insurance and politics and the doctor and like the family, and it was just like I want to just directly care for somebody without all this other bullshit. And
Yeah.
then it was like, okay, at these dementia Alzheimer's units or the assisted living, it's like, oh, they're dead, they're gone, get them out, like let's clean the room for the next person. And it was so
Yeah,
like,
it's like an emotional toll on you
and I'm
too.
like, I just was taking care of this person, and now it's like, pack their shit up, put it in the trash bag. Like, we got the new person ready to move in. Like, already?
Now that's how
Like,
I know my dad deals with that with his blind rehab patients, because
mm-hmm.
he'll have guys that are coming. They'll come in. They don't trust hospitals at all, and they're like 80, but they're blind as fuck. They need help. He helps them out. He develops these relationships, and then 5 years later they're dead, and it's like, oh, yep, he's just, yeah, put deceased on his file. Like, I know that he talks about the
Yeah,
toll that
dude,
takes
like,
on him.
that was like, I've been,
It's so transactional, like it's money, but it's like this
yeah,
is
it
human life
was.
here, and
And I think, like, one of those jobs, like, the manager, you don't know until, like, you're not here every day working it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, the regional manager, like, oh, I've been checking out all these restaurants or whatnot, and you guys are doing it wrong. You're like, well, we fucking work this shit
Yeah,
every
you're like, what are you
day.
talking about? Why are you changing this? This
Yeah,
works.
like you're right.
Hmm.
So it was like a lot of politics and insurance, and like I get it, that's what it is. But to me, I was like, I can't do this shit every day, and I have to report and record and make sure this, and then I gotta kiss this manager, this charge nurse's ass, and then the
Hmm.
doctor thinks he's God, and it was just like so much, and I was just like, I
Yeah,
don't,
not feeling it.
I'm not feeling this. And then I think too is just like the flexibility with my son. Like I want to be around with my son, or if he's sick,
You want
oh,
to take
find
care of
someone
him,
to
yeah.
cover it, or oh, guess he's guessing whatever.
Well,
Like
that's the problem with it now is they like there's no job security where if you need to call out, they'd fire you for it. But nowadays they can't do that.
right.
There's no one will fill that job. There's such
Like
a
all right.
low labor pool now.
So I think I ended up. It's just like all right. That lady like hit me deep, and I was
Hmm.
like, and even at that point, I was working like overnight, so I was getting a differential, so I was making pretty good money, like 17, 18 an hour.
Hmm.
Elijah was in school and it worked, and like that's a respectable job. Like I'm in the hospital, I have benefits, insurance, whatnot. But I was just like, I'm not happy. I don't want to do this. And that lady scared me. Like she was like, you need to quit.
You're like, I don't want to be here for 15 years.
So I quit, and I ended up going, signing up for barber school in Colorado before I left.
Hmm.
Signed in, and this school was like notorious. Like everybody was like, either you pass and it's great, or they're like, we got kicked out, or they this, or so you just like heard like these horror stories. But what ended up happening is we went in, and I think like my mindset was not good, and I was still just like on some BS and still doing my thing. So I think like it was like, oh, I got it. It was structured, and I didn't have like any
Yeah,
structure.
you
So it
didn't
was
like the
like,
structure.
yeah, and then it was like, okay, you have to dress up every day, and like you have to wear these certain colors, and you have to wear this, and you can't be this, and you gotta be. And I think like I don't know, it was just a lot. I don't think I was ready then, and I was just still
Not mature enough yet.
not mature enough.
Your ears weren't open to hear it.
And so basically, like I did, I did like 500 hours, and they were like, I had missed some hours, and I knew I was messing up. And they're like, well, what are you gonna do about it? Like they were giving me a hard time.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna come make up the hours. And they're like, well, how? And I was like, come and make up the hours. Well, what is your plan? And I'm like,
Just to
just
show
to
up.
come and make up the hours. Well, what specific things are you gonna do? And I was like, make up the hours and come to school. Well, like you're really having a difficult time, and and we could put you on academic probation. And I was like, but you can't because you never said anything. I don't have any verbals, no write ups, no nothing. So I'm gonna come do my hours. Like, oh, well, if we do take your financial aid, are you gonna be able to pay for this? Then they started talking to me kind of crazy, and I was like, yeah, I can pay for it, no problem. Like, I'm good. Oh well, like why were you missing? They just kept like poking at me,
Hmm.
and I was just like, a lot was going on. This is what happened. I'm gonna come make up my hours. Like, come on, you just had someone else in here 2 minutes ago, and you didn't do all this.
Hmm.
Well, this school seems overwhelming to you, and sounds like you got a lot going on, and you know, we just think it's best that like you kind of like pause and you might like take a break. And I was like, what? Like you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, well, we're just gonna like, basically he's telling me like, we don't like your attitude right now. We don't like your plan, and like we don't, you have a lot going on. So maybe you should just like take a break and not come back. And
You're
I
like,
was like,
what?
what? And I was like, are y'all kicking me out? And he was like, well, you did say you have like a lot of stuff going on, and like he was just being like a dick that day. And I was like, but I remember with this school, like our instructor, he was black, and so he'd say like, just get through it, like get through it, and like he'd point and be like,
Just finish.
just finish it, like this is the issue, like just focus, like don't let no distractions, like they're gonna mess with you, they're gonna say stuff, like just they don't like us, but just keep
That's
going.
cool in general because life in general is the only thing that really matters is you being able to learn what you're doing.
Hmm.
And college is full of so much bullshit where it's like, we're going to teach you this random shit you're never going to use, and you need to get it, pass it with an A or a B or whatever. And once you're done, you're done. We're not going to worry about it anymore. And
Right.
and that's why I feel like the whole reason bachelor's degrees matter when you're trying to get into like whatever corporate world you might want to go into. But the boss that's going to hire you has his bachelor's degree, and he just needs to know you did the same bullshit that he did.
Right.
But it's not actually like, yeah, we want you to learn, we want you to understand. No, it's like, just fucking finish.
Yeah,
it's
it was like,
it's so shitty though. I hate it where I'm like, I want to learn, I want to absorb this information. I don't want to have to just memorize something and then forget it a year later.
right.
And
Yeah, and so it was always issues, and I feel like they picked on certain kids and said stuff to certain kids
mhm.
specifically, and it was like literally, I was going to school. I was married to this girl, and we went to school together, Holly, and so it was
Wait,
great.
Holly was in barber
She was
school?
in barber school with
No
me,
fucking way.
and so literally we missed the same hours, we're on the same BS, and
Oh
then she
man.
went in the office before me, and they're like, "You gonna make up your hours? Cool." Like, look, it was glass, so like I could
Yeah, you
see.
can see what's going on.
She's like, "Yeah, sign the paper,
Body
whatever."
language was different, everything.
Yeah, came out, and I was like, "What's up?" She's like, "Oh, they just were asking about making up hours. Like, just tell them you're gonna make up the hours. Everything's cool." So when I go in, they were like, "What about this?" What?
Hounding you.
And I was like, "This is not." Like, I didn't hear anything, but like, this is not the same conversation you
Yeah,
just
you're like,
had literally with her 2 minutes ago. And the owner of the school was in there while like it was like the financial aid lady and like an enrollment guy. So what's your plan? What's this? And I was like, and I
where's
probably,
this coming from?
and
You're
I
like, what
think
is
I
this?
did was maybe a little frustrated because I was just like, I'm gonna make up the hours. Like, what the like, get off my back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner was like, I think he felt like I was giving them like a hard
Sass.
time, sass back, and he's like, "Well, sounds like you got a lot going on," and I've been overhearing the conversation, and I'm like, "Right." And as you overheard, I was gonna make up the hours, and my grandpa died. My son was in school, like just a lot on
Yeah,
my
you just
plate
have
right
shit.
now,
Yeah,
and
shit
like that's why I
happening.
haven't been here. And he's like, "Well, sounds like you got a lot on your plate. You don't go to school here no more." Just like that.
Fuck.
And I was like, you can't do that. I'm not on verbal nothing. Like, you cannot do that to me. I just did. Pick up these papers, have her print them out, sign them, sign these papers, and you can go get your stuff and leave. So she printed, and like, as this is going, like, she's printing the papers out. Like, it was like they were ready for me. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what? Like, we were
Mm-hmm.
just doing haircuts, and now you called me in here, and now I'm getting kicked out. And so I went back to my instructor. I think I just walked out. Like, I'm not signing anything, and you can't kick me out. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So I walked out and went to my instructor, and I was like, Mr. B, like,
This is bullshit.
they came right up to me. You need to leave the premises right now. We're calling the police.
Oh my god.
And Mr. B was like, Jay, like,
Just go.
just go.
Yeah.
So, like, I spent like 4 or 5 G's on the kit with like the clippers and tools. I never even got it. They wouldn't even let me get my stuff out of my locker. Like,
What?
leave the premises now.
They were that mean? Man.
Yeah. I don't know if they just thought like, and I didn't cause a scene. I didn't nothing. I was just like, I'm not signing your papers. This is bullshit. Like my wife just came in here 5 minutes ago.
And same
And
exact shit.
same exact shit.
Yeah.
She's missed same exact hours as me and like nothing. And so of course like I ended up leaving. And at that time it was just like fuck now, like I'm 500 hours deep. Like this
Mm-hmm.
was my plan. Like and I think at that time like I was trying to get out of my situation. I was trying to get out of Colorado, like just trying to figure shit out.
Yeah, it all fucking
Um
fell apart.
and it all fell apart like just like that. And so that was probably in like November, December, and I stuck around until April. But in the midst, like we did like trimming, we were doing other stuff, and I think that probably like I had that big trim job, so I was like making cash under the table, was making good money, so I was like, whatever,
Fuck your school.
fuck your school, and I was like, and I can pay for it. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I've been doing? Like, of course I can pay for it. And they kicked me out, so I stayed till like April, and I think I was kind of like self-destructive and like, but I was like, I gotta go because my son he had came to stay with my parents, so it was one of those things like, hey, by the time I'm finished with barber school, he'll be finished with his third grade year, and then everything will be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like a month after I sent him, they're like, yeah, you're kicked out, you're done. So like that was like fuck, like
What am I gonna tell?
what am I gonna
Yeah,
say
your
when I can't
parents
tell
and shit.
anything and they're expecting me to be done. So I stayed for a little while longer, and then it was just like I miss my kid. Like, yeah, I'm married, we have this place, like my whole life's here, but like my kid is there, and like I'm
So was Elijah here in Arizona?
so Elijah came to Arizona because my parents had moved.
Oh, okay.
So he's the only grandchild. So they had moved like 7, 8 months prior. And so it was like my babysitter was gone, you know? And me and his dad, we like kind of had separate days, but I think we weren't like doing the best job, you know?
Oh, and you
like,
both aren't the most traditional people.
and we're most, yeah, exactly. So it was like, hey, can he come out here? By the time I'll get my shit together, be finished up with these hours at barber school, and
Mm-hmm.
then we'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen like that. And so got kicked out, stayed a few months, and then I was like, I gotta go. So literally like no car, no nothing. I packed one bag, one way flight, left Holly, left everything, and I moved in with my grandparents in their basement.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool, that they let me to be there. But I think at first initially it was just like, what are you doing and
Yeah,
what's
like
going
what's the plan
on?
here? Like,
Yeah, and I think they kind of looked at me like, you know, I was like the black sheep of the family, had my kid, and like I haven't done anything. You know, I think everybody's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You know, you're
like,
27, 28, like, come on. And so I ended up, my first job was Mother's Day weekend. I got here, and my homegirl's mom, she said, go to Edible Arrangements. They'll
they'll have work.
they'll put you on. It's Mother's Day weekend. They'll get you on real quick. They probably won't even do like the higher paperwork and all that. They'll
Yeah,
probably
just
pay you cash, whatever. So my grandparents lived right there across from Chandler Gilbert,
mm-hmm.
and there's that Fry's right there with the Edible Arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a car, so I walked from there to the Edible Arrangements every day. Worked that weekend. I made like $200-300 Mother's Day weekend, and then that got me over for like another week or so. And then I applied at Natural Grocers, and they were big in Colorado, but we were just moving to Arizona, so they were just building up the stores.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, come to this job kind of interview this day. So I remember going to the hotel, like, Grandpa, can you give me a ride to the hotel? And then I went, and it was actually like their job train. They started the job training, and the lady just called me like, okay, we need more people. So she interviewed me right there, like, you're good, like, just jump in this job training. So I started working with them, like literally building the store, like hard hat, vest, like putting the shelves in,
What?
putting the, you know,
How wild.
stocking all the stuff, scanning everything in, putting the barcodes in the little,
Everywhere.
just
You're getting
everything.
set up.
And so I was like, cool, like I want to go to barber school, like when are we gonna have a schedule? Like, cool, as soon as the store opens up, we're gonna have a schedule, and then you could do, you know, have like a shift or whatever. Store opened up, and they're like, oh, there's some other stores that are opening up. You did a good job. So basically, they just were limiting how many people that they needed, so they were getting rid of people but also building other stores. So then they started sending people like, oh well, you can go
Oh,
out
we don't want
to
you as a cashier, but you can go build this next store. Yeah.
exactly. So they got me and got a few other people, and then when I realized go to another store, I'm like, cool, well that's closer, and okay, this might work out. And I'm thinking like it's a good thing, like they wanted me to come
Yeah,
help.
yeah, but they're just taking advantage of you.
Exactly. So I was like, well, when is my 90 days? Because I need a schedule because I'm trying to start barber school.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Really?
oh, your 90 days starts over. Like, you're at a new store. So I was like, man.
That's
I
so
worked,
fucked. I hate that shit.
right. I worked that, and my homegirl's mom, she was cool. And it was crazy because it's like that friend, like you don't listen to your own parents. And she probably doesn't listen to her mom, but like
Mhm.
she was like very motivating to me and like just key and like just go, just keep working, Jay. Like, well, what are you gonna do about this? Like, what about this? So she was like, just keep working, but we're gonna help you find something. So then she got online and she was like, FedEx is hiring and they're doing package handlers from like 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And she was
But you
like,
get paid good during those shifts, but
yeah.
fuck.
She's like, but the barber school's from this time to this time. So you gotta, she was
Make it
just like,
work.
make it work. So I applied. I ended up getting it in. I left the natural grocers, got in at FedEx. And so then I did both. But then it was shitty because there was no reciprocity. So I had 500 hours in barber hours from Colorado that wouldn't transfer to Arizona. And then there was no financial aid. It wasn't accredited,
You have to
so
pay for all of it yourself.
it was a trade, so I had to pay for it. So then it took like a little while. I had to work a little bit to get the down payment. So I was doing that, and my sister ended up. She came in. She was paying like half my bill every month because I probably was only getting paid like 800.
Yeah, not nearly enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bill was like 1,000, and so I
Oh,
don't.
shout out to your sister.
Yeah,
That's super
she
sweet.
she hooked it up. So I did that. So went to work. Woke up like 3:30 a.m. Ran over to FedEx, loaded, and you got the scanner. You're loading like 3 trucks at a time, and it's a conveyor belt. Like the I Love Lucy, where they're like the chocolate is like literally like that, and you're like throwing boxes, and certain trucks have to be numbered a certain way with the boxes and their route and shit like
You've
that.
done a whole bunch of shit. I'm shocked.
So man, yeah. So I did that for like 11 months throughout barber school. Did barber school. Finished
So, where'd you go to barber school then?
in Chandler
What is it called?
International
Barber school?
Barber School. Chandler International or International?
Do you go? Have you gone back there since?
No.
No.
Because they kind of rubbed me the wrong way afterwards.
Oh, what happened?
So I did my stuff and I took my test and I failed because you had to take a written and a practical. So I had to do like a haircut, shaved, all
Which
the
you
steps.
Probably did fine on
Which
that.
I killed.
Yeah.
But
the
the written. And then it was like, it was an old ass 1970 test. Fill in the bubble and make sure you fill it in dark enough so the machine can read it. And then some questions, how D's like, D is A and B.
Yeah, D is all the above.
Some would be like, well, some are multiple answers in the, like some are multiple A and D.
Yeah, it's like true or false. And then it's like A and D are both true or some shit.
Yeah. So like, I was like, what? So people would be like, what test did you get? And I'm like, I got C. Like, I got C2. Did you put multiple? And I'm like, no. So, of course, I failed that. So, like, when I went back to the school, it was like people were hitting me up like, dang, Jay, you failed? Like, and I'm like, how the fuck do you know?
Yeah.
But, like, they pretty much were like, oh, this person did this. Yep, Jay failed. Like,
it just had your name on it with everyone else, and it said pass,
like,
fail.
oh, Jay, Joncie, yep. And so, like, when I got there, and then, like, when I completed my hours, and maybe because I was an adult, and everybody was, like, younger, but they printed out, like, diplomas, like, this year, 1,500 hours, congratulations, everybody give. I didn't get nothing.
Fuck.
And then, like, they told everybody, so I was like...
That's even more rude. Yeah, it's like rubbing it in.
And then, I want to say, I was, like, $200 short or something. It's like $160. Some bullshit. but they weren't trying to let me take my test because they have to tell the state that like, oh, you're good, she could take the test. So they were trying to hold my test up, but I was like, FedEx was on some bullshit. And so I ended up leaving FedEx before, oh, so you can get tuition reimbursement. So I was at like my 12 months, had all my stuff, and FedEx said, oh, well, that's for course hours, not trade hours.
Is that?
So I was like, I'm about to blow FedEx up right now. I
Yeah.
mean, and I ended up like leaving. And so like I didn't have the 160. And I was like, can you please like help me out until like I really can't pay you until I take the test and probably
Hmm.
get a job and start working, which was understood, like literally not making anything.
Yeah.
And so they went and told everybody like Jay owes us money and like made it seem like I
You're doing
was,
some scandalous shit.
yeah, and
God.
like I think too like maybe like a little embarrassed, but too like it was like I'm an adult and like damn, it's embarrassing that I can't pay you your little 160, but like for you to go tell people like
Yeah, like why you gotta rub my name in the
yeah,
mud?
like they were like, is she ever gonna come back and pay? And I think it took me like 2 months or something because it was like I need gas and food, and literally like you start barbering, and it's not like you're a new barber, so no one's like hopping in your chair
Yeah.
right away, and then you have booth rent and gas, so like it really took me like maybe I was making like 160 to 200 a week, but my booth rent is 150,
Yeah, so
so
you're
I'm
just
left
already,
off. So
yeah.
like I literally had to put like 20, 30 bucks away for like a month, 2 months to pay them their money, and I paid them their money. But just like I was just so like I'll never come
Rub the
back
wrong
here.
way, yeah.
Like yeah, and I think like with that school too, they like picked and chose, and you seen they like gave people hard times and
Yeah, they
like
had their favorites
they
and
had
people
their
they gave
favorites,
shit.
and then the people that gave shit to, and it was just like, yeah, you're giving like
I
that's not cool.
Culinary school, I was like the favorite,
Yeah.
which is so on the contrary or whatever, on the different from you. But the second I started working at Seville, I busted my ass. I worked hard at Seville, but my chef just shit on me every second he got the opportunity to, and like the joke around the kitchen is like, it's Hunter's fault. Yep, Hunter's fault. And I remember it was like one day where like he just chewed me out, told me I was like a piece of shit. I wasn't good at my job. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I was dedicated to. I was a young boy. I'm like trying to fucking learn. I'm working hard, trying to show like, yeah, I give a fuck,
Yeah.
and he chewed me out. I remember I went back to my station and I was like almost crying because I was just so fucking mad and hurt. But it's like a wake up call though, where I look back, he gave me so much shit for going to school because he didn't go to school, my chef, and I don't know. People have some fucking animosity. They feel some type of way when they don't have the same opportunity that you did. And
Yeah, I think people feel intimidated or they may see something in you and they're like, oh shit, that's
yeah,
not in me, and they feel some type of way. But yeah, like,
but isolating anyone for any reason sucks. It sucks when you're like soloed out and treated like shits.
no, absolutely. But I think too, like, all those are character builders, and at the same time, like, I know where I was like at with my attitude, and then like I was literally brought all the way down
Mm-hmm.
in every situation, like, and then just like starting over from the bottom. So I think like it just gave me like, okay,
It
like this
humbled
is
you.
where I'm at, and I'm humble,
Mm-hmm.
and like I know I'm never gonna treat people like this, or when I have a school,
That
or when I
yeah.
show people, and like, okay, I want to do some type of education because yeah, I passed the test, and you guys passed, and you have your passing rate, but like, I know what I didn't learn and what I could,
What you want to improve on
what I want to improve on, and like,
and help other people improve on.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So no, I never went back, and that's probably just me being prideful, but I'm like, I'll never give them
Yeah, I
the
bet you're
time
making
of
more than
day.
most of the fucking barbers that graduated with you.
Maybe I hope so, but it's not a competition, so.
Yeah, I don't know. That shit's hilarious. So after barber school, I mean, how long from barber school did it take you from barber school to like Gateway?
Probably maybe like 8 to 10 months. So from barber school, like there's always barbers that come in, like come work at our shop, come work here. We have
Yeah, they're
chairs.
trying to like
Yeah,
get their labor.
And I think, at first you feel special, and then you're like, oh, he told everybody that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a couple shops that I was like, okay, I'm going to check out. Or just going on Instagram, and being new to the Valley is like, I don't know anybody. So let me like go to certain shops. So I would go around to one shop specifically. It was like south side of Phoenix. And like I would just sit there on Sundays and watch them. I would stand there and watch them like cut and ask questions like, why are you using that? Or what's
Mm-hmm.
this? Or and just kind of build like a rapport with the barbers and just kind of got like the feel of the shop. So I was there, and I remember before I graduated barber school, like a month left, and they're like, Jay, you've been coming like 6 months, because there was another barber at the barber school who was working there, so he was
Mm-hmm.
like, just come hang
Yeah.
out with us. So that's when I started hanging out with those barbers, and then like I didn't have any friends, I didn't know anybody, so it was like my little kick it time, and then I was learning. And so it was like a month left, and they're like, "You're almost done, Jay. We want you to work here. You're cool, and we like you." And the lady didn't speak Spanish, or she didn't speak English, and never really said anything like "hello," whatever, just. And they were like, "Yo, like today, bring your stuff, do a haircut, like show her, you know what I mean? Like you can cut, and you want a job here, like interview." So I went, and I probably got like from like the sideburn to like past the ear, like with the clipper, like didn't just barely starting the haircut. And she was like, "No, no, no, that's bad. Like you're almost done. No, my sister has a school at Mesa. You go back to school." Like,
oh, she shit on you
in front of
oh,
everybody, the
man.
whole shop, and I'm looking like
Fuck.
trying not to cry, and then I'm like, then thinking like, this bitch knows English all of a sudden, like. You didn't know no English this whole time, and now I'm like, but then I was like, you know what? She didn't even really give me a chance. Like, I think like she didn't like something. She didn't want me there.
Though, yeah.
But it messed with me, and then it was like all the barbers were like, "Oh my god, yeah, I can't believe she did that." So I ended up like, I took it and I stayed the rest of the day, finished, with them. I never went back there. And then I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I'm doing. Like, where are you gonna go, Jay? Like, okay, that's not gonna work. And which was fine because it was very specific. Like, it was on the south side. They did fades all day. Like, probably somewhere that I wouldn't want to be now, like in hindsight. And so this one guy came. He had like a product, and he was big. We had like the barber shows and knew like some other popular barbers. So I was like, cool. Like, he knows what he's doing. His lady worked at like the Tony and Guy or some other hair Cosmo. So I'm like, oh, they're doing it. They literally helped me study for the test. Like, would have me over. Like, super cool hugs. Fam. Finish school. And he's like, Jay, like, I have 4 chairs. I'm gonna give you my chair if you take it. So the other barbers are cool. I like to come hang out with us. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna come here. So went there. Started cutting, and it was cool. I liked the barbers there. It was kind of building clientele. It was slow at first, but then like the lighting is key, and you know that because you helped me with the lighting. So one day I couldn't see, and I was like,
"What the fuck's going on?
What the fuck?" And for like days, but there was like a big glass window, so I'm like, it's glare, and I'm still not really realizing the light and just everything about like being in the shop. And like it had been for a couple days now, and then I was like, man, can somebody help me? Like, I'm struggling. And they're just like, oh, like looked up like, oh, the light's out. And I'm like, oh,
you're so green still as you're figuring out
like
the shit.
Literally figuring it out, super green. It was like, well,
that's hilarious.
The light bulb's out. I'm like,
but it barbering, that's a fucking hustle though. That's something I didn't even realize, like the fact that you have to develop your clientele. Even if you're working underneath like a business, you still need to develop relationships with people.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to get your stability of your income.
Oh, yeah, because you're new, and then like,
wait,
and you're a girl? Yeah. Like, and I think I look younger than what I am, so people were like, I'm a little girl.
How old are
like,
you? Wait, how many?
I've never had a girl cut my hair. I'm like, I'm a grown woman.
Yeah, that's like.
I mean, if you need me to be a man right now to cut your hair, like I don't know, but
I'll
guys,
be a man if you want me to. No,
yeah, I'll do whatever you want. But so I asked the owner like 3 times. I'm like, hey, can you please? And I'm super green too, but at the same time, like I'm just like 28. Like, come on, it's not
Ah,
my
you got.
first. I'm starting over, whatever. And so he was like, I was like, can you change the bulb? Can you help me? I had to ask him literally like 3 or 4
I
times.
think you told me about this.
And then like on the third or fourth time, he's like, oh, I don't have time for this, and like he just
It
was
just
like I
excuse
was
after excuse.
bothering him,
Yeah.
and then he was just like, he got up there and was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna hire an electrician, and if you can't CJ, just take the day off. And I was like,
Fuck.
what?
Yeah, you're like, Jesus Christ.
So the old Jay started to come out for a second, and I pushed her back. So I went outside, and I was like,
Gotta take a breath real quick.
take a deep breath. I walked back inside, and I grabbed all my stuff,
And just left.
and I left. And they're like, where you going, Jay? I was like, hit me up when the light's done. So 2 weeks later, and from at that point, I was working at another shop in Glendale. So that was my main shop in Tempe,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would drive to Glendale. And at that shop was cool. They did these cool designs, great barbers, but I think they had some other stuff going on in the back door type, you know what I mean? Something. And so it was just
Oh, the
like,
DL.
man, I'm trying to get away from certain people and situations.
And that
And
was putting
like,
you right back.
it was putting me right back in those situations with people and things. And it was like, it was very tempting. And, of course, I was there for a little while, but I was like, okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, it can't be doing that.
So then I left that shop in Tempe, grabbed all my stuff. And so I was like, man, now I gotta go to
Find a
Glendale
fucking place, right?
and find a place because I was living in Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
So then Sam, my buddy Sam at Gateway, we went to barber school together.
Mm-hmm.
So I see him, and he'd be like, let's go eat or what, I got you. So we go eat or go to happy hour, and he pull out his wad of money and be like, I got you, Jay. Like,
You're like, damn, this guy's flexing right now.
I'm like, all right, bro, cool, because I don't got it. Like,
Mhm.
literally at the end of my week, I had like $40 left. I'm like, bro, hook me up. Like, where are you working at? And he's like, I'm at Gateway. And I'm like, bro, come on. Like, I'm trying to get a spot. Like, I'm too old to be living at my grandma. I need to get my kid back. Like, I need to start paying. Like, Holly's out there. Like, what's. He was like, you're not good enough, Jay. Like, you just started. You're slow.
What the fuck?
But it was true. I wasn't good enough. I was slow as hell. And he was like, come. He said, but I'm gonna give him your number and your information.
Yeah, but I don't. I guess I think when I go get my haircut from you, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it's also I'm talking with you, we're having a good time. We
Yeah,
got
we're
this
kicking it.
relationship, right? And you go back to the last time I got a cut. The first time I went to Gateway, I got a cut by some bald dude. He's like, "You've never had a fade?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Boys, he's never had a fade or whatever, And it was the day you were off. Um, but it's like the same thing as that transactional feeling. It's like he doesn't really give a fuck about me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm there for 50 minutes, haircut's done, see you later, dude.
Exactly.
But you were like, oh, you're Joey's friend, and you were like,
Yeah.
connecting the dots, and you're developing this relationship, and I was like, I enjoy this person.
Yeah, I liked that part of it. But yeah, he ended up giving my number to the owner,
Mhm.
and I was out of town or something. I was like, "Hey, can you come?" And I was like, "Oh my God, they called me!"
Yeah,
and really,
yeah.
they just like needed a body. Like I think he
Mhm.
got rid of somebody, and they're like, "Fuck, we
Yeah,
need
he was
somebody."
stressing out. We need more bodies.
And so he was like, "Be here on time. Do these hot towels." Like so, I was like, "Oh, they're on it." So
Mhm.
like I came in cleaning. I was the only female at most of these shops. So and being a mom, like I was just very clean and tidy, and so I'd make towels and do all this stuff. And I started making my own beard oil because I didn't have money to pay for product. Because then you're buying like hair product and supplies, and so I started doing these hot towels and this oil, and they liked me.
Oh.
And they're like, dude, he's like, do you guys want to keep her around? Like, they're like, yeah, she's cool. We like her. She's good with the clients. Like, she's slow, but like, she's new. It's gonna take her some time. And so I just started doing like the hot towel and the oils, and like, I started taking pictures of my clients, which I started to do in barber school.
Mhm.
And I think even at Gateway and even at barber, like, they laughed at me, like,
It's your fucking portfolio,
what are you
dude.
doing?
It's like a
Like,
tattoo artist having his drawings up, or even a cook with his plates he makes, right? It's
Yeah.
your fucking portfolio. It's your work.
So I was like just trying to build it up, and I think like they were like this girl feeling herself, like trying, and it was like no, like I got that. Okay, if I post Hunter and he maybe repost it, that's gonna
It's
be
more
someone else,
clientele,
and
yeah.
and be like, oh, she posted me on, you know what I mean, like, and so
The things I don't get. If you're slow as a barber, right? Then isn't it better for the other barbers because they can get more people in their seats?
mm-hmm.
Why the fuck would they complain about it being slow? It's like they're not thinking. That shit blows my mind.
Maybe because then I'm not getting those people they don't want to cut.
Yeah, they're
So
I don't
like
want to cut that
sometimes they're
guy.
like, ah, fuck, she should be done by this time. I'll cut this guy, and then if I'm not done, then they gotta cut that badass kid or
Yeah, they're
something.
like, man, that guy fucking stinks. I don't want to cut his hair.
Or I think just like they're used to it being a transaction, and then like
Mm-hmm.
I think once I got in and I was like, this is I don't want it. I want to like get to know. I like taking care and like just like that patient. Like we got to know each other, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
a bond. And so I think like me being slower, I got to like oh so
You,
what did
yeah, you
so it
fucking
wouldn't
figure out
be
what's going on.
awkward, yeah, because then it's like no one wants to be in silence getting a treatment or a haircut, like that's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started like posting pictures and like doing the oils and the hot towel. And then there I started making like a little bit of money. So I started going to classes and expos, and I was flying different
I
places.
remember all this, Sam.
And I was just like excited to learn and like, oh, we're doing this. And like, I thought we were going to be like a team and like go to these shows together. And like, they were like, they had been in it a while. So like, all that shit's rigged. It's stupid. We've been to it. Like, they were kind of not into it.
Yeah, they're in it because it's their job. They're not in it because it's something they give a shit about.
right. And I think they're like, it was cool, but like, they knew we were making good money. So I think like, if they didn't like something we were doing, or if you were a couple minutes late or anything, they're like, oh, we're going to take this away from you. Or, oh, they would do a percentage. So we would get, I think I was 70% or 60% or something there. So like,
Mm-hmm.
we're taking 5% today. Like it was like their little
Just
pool to
random though,
power.
right? It wasn't ever written down or anything.
No, just
Yeah,
ran like,
fucking weird.
man, I caught that red light. Now I'm late. 3 minutes late to 5% today. You weren't here ready when the door was unlocked. And you'd be like, is this like a fucking barber shop? Like, really? It's like, okay, whatever, and it wouldn't happen all the time, but like, I think they were just like younger guys who got into it early and did pretty well for themselves. So, like, in their mid 20s, they're like hot shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that they were like,
Got the ego.
yeah, they just had ego. And I was like, so I started going to these classes, and there's like, oh, you can't take these days off. You can't do this. And they're just like, why? You didn't have a problem before, and now. And so being
Thank
that,
God that led you to doing all your independent shit
yeah,
though.
because thank
Good.
God they wouldn't give me the time off, and I was cool with all the barbers and picked up shifts and just was above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And so the barber's like, Jay, like, Sam was like, Jay, just we'll switch our days, and we made it work. And I didn't tell anybody I was going to this battle, but I was like, I'm gonna go home and I'll be back. Sam covered my days and we're good. Went home, went to this battle, and I was like, I'm gonna compete. And I was thinking all those people that I went to barber school with in Colorado are gonna be at this battle, probably battling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna come, and that wasn't like I'm about to win, but it was like I'm gonna redeem my name because
Yeah.
I got kicked out of this school.
That's
I'm a little
hilarious.
embarrassed. And at my hometown, like they know me for the past and all my whatever I was into. Then I tried to do something, go to barber school and get kicked out. So I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, I just felt like I had like a bad, shitty name back home. I'm gonna go to this battle. And the guy was like, do you want to battle? I'm like, no, I just want to go to the class. And he's like, you're good enough, just do it. I'm like, he's just trying to get my money. Like, but fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
How much did it cost for
It
entry?
was $75.
Oh shit. And if you won, how much were you gonna like? What was the pool?
I think I don't know. Maybe you got like a couple hundred, but I think it was more like your trophy, and you just got to do like
You
a
felt good.
bragging
It's a
rights. Yeah.
competition, yeah.
So I pull up. I have my models ready, everything, and I was like, and everybody from the school, like my peers that I was in, they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like,
I'm
"I'm here
gonna
to
beat
battle."
your ass.
Yeah. And they were like, "You're battling?" Like,
We're not even doing that.
none of them were.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
So it was all the people that were like shop owners, people that I had looked up to that were battling. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, so I was just like, so then my model, the times, the categories went further and the time was pushed. So I was like, I gotta go to work. Like, I can't stay.
Damn.
So then literally they're like, can anybody come on the mic? Can anybody be a model? So I had like 3 or 4 people and I knew the haircut I was gonna do and was ready. And I was like, so this one kid, they're like, this is the owner, whoever was putting on like the main sponsors, like, this is the nephew. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll cut it. So I cut it. And they also, judge you on like cleanliness, length, and like, I'm just throwing shit everywhere. Like, I'm just trying to get through it.
You're competing, yeah. You're in just go mode.
And so I went. I didn't win anything, but like that kid had never got a haircut. Like probably like you, he just had like a regular normal haircut. But like I gave him a comb over and a fade, and like just to see his reaction, the family's reaction. They're like, "Oh my god,
he's actually good looking."
Yeah. And like the kid was just like, he was like a bigger kid, kind of quiet, timid. And after that haircut, he was just like, he was smiling, happy. And like everybody just came up to me like, Jay, you fucking killed it.
Mom, get me your friend's daughter, Mom. I'm ready for her.
So I did. I went and killed it. And then it was like, cool, gotta hurry to go back because I gotta go back to Arizona. So like the airline, it's like a small airline, like airport, like how Gateway is.
Yeah.
So like they just were like, oh, flight's canceled tonight. So I called and I was like, hey, my flight's canceled. Like,
oh, I remember you telling me this too. They give you
like,
so much shit for that.
Well, if you ain't gonna be here tomorrow, like, they're like, you can be late, but if you're not here, you're done. Pack your shit. And I was like, okay.
Really? You're like, yeah.
All right, cool. So I ended up staying a little longer at home. Came back Saturday morning, and they're like, I knocked on the door to pack my stuff, brought my box, and I'm like, Jay, are you back? Like, we've been kidding you up. And I was like, yeah, but y'all fired me, so like, I didn't need to answer. Like, oh, Jay, we're sorry, that wasn't cool. Like, we need you. Like, what's up? Are you good? And like, I didn't have nowhere to go. I didn't have no job, but like, I wasn't gonna be like a little bitch. Like they really punked me, like how they talked to me over the phone.
Some rude
and
shit,
like,
dude.
Yeah,
you already felt all the ways you felt.
Oh, they were disrespected.
Yeah.
So then I was like, man, I went to this course to better myself, to bring that shit back.
Yeah, it's not like you're fucking going on some vacation.
Yeah,
you're
I wasn't
barbering.
like kicking it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I brought it back here, and now, like you guys basically like shit on me. So I'm gonna clean my station. I'm gonna wipe everything down. I left everything nice. I appreciate the opportunity. I think I've just outgrown it, and I left. And I was shitting my pants because I didn't know where to go.
Yeah.
And like there was other barbershops that I knew were needing help. And so I was like, as soon as I left there and reached out, it was like the craziest thing. It was like I was blackballed, like blacklisted. And like I started hitting up some spots and they're like, aren't you at, Gateway? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like looking for new, like I wasn't being like, yeah, they just let me go. I was like, I'm just looking for, and they're like, oh no, like we're all filled up here. Da, da, da. And so I was like, what the fuck? So I ended up going back to that homegirl's mom and I was like, man, this is what happened. And she's like, well, what are you gonna do? Let's start looking for a place. Like, what's the plan? So I had a homeboy and he was like, I work at this shop. And it was like more commercial,
Was it Lefties?
Is that where you went after that? I went to Lefties, like, yes, after that. But he was like, come to Floyd's. He was like, you can get on right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, I don't know. It's like hourly commission. Like, they're not,
Yeah, it's not. They're making tons of money, but you're not getting shit.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Yeah. So I went, did the little interview. And it was like the most basic haircut. And they were like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Immaculate.
And I was just like, y'all are calm down. Like, y'all are just like, it was just not right. And they're like, okay, start Monday. Da, 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 da. And I was just kind of like, fuck, like, I don't have a job. Like, okay, I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to my homegirl's mom and she said, man, they gave you a little toolkit or a box. She said, take that shit back. Like, you're not gonna like be happy there. Like, why start something? Like, don't even do it. Don't mess this up. Your homeboy helped you out, got you the little interview. Like, don't do that.
Hmm.
So I called him back, like, here you go. And then I went to Lefty's and I called the owner, Lefty, and I was like, because I seen on Instagram, like, and all through barber school, like, this is like the best
The spot.
shop, the shop. And so I talked to him and he was like, yeah, come down. We have a dress code. We this, we do celebrities. We did it. So, like, he just was like the answer.
What's a cool shop or a cool
It
shop?
yeah, it very much so was. I think once I got there, it was just a different experience, and I was like,
There's a lot of testosterone in that fucking place, though, man.
yeah,
Oh
and
man.
like the other shops were cool. Like, Jay, like, did you get a cut? Go ahead. And at this shop, they're like, we don't care, Jay. Like,
Yeah. If you don't get
get out
anything,
the
who the fuck
way.
cares?
Like,
Yeah.
be aggressive to get a cut. And I was like, it's a haircut. It's about taking care of
Yeah,
someone. Like,
Gateway was like real intimate. That place is like going into a high school like lunch.
yeah,
Like that's
it's
what
like,
it's like. You're just a fucking fish in the sea because there's just
mm-hmm.
so many barbers in there.
And so from there, it was like they had a salon in the back. So it was like, there's no chairs in the front. You got to
Yeah,
go in the
yeah, I
back with the
remember that.
girls. And I'm like, no one can see me. And like, like, this sucks. Like, oh, no, you're good. You're good. Like, just be quiet. Stay back there with the girls. Like,
How many clients from Gateway followed you to Lefties? You think?
but that was like my saving grace. I'd say at least 20
That's pretty fucking awesome.
20 people, maybe 25, 30, like, would come.
Hmm.
And so I think they were surprised about that. And then it was like total two different demographics. So, like, I had all these white guys coming into this black shop,
That's
and they
already
were
funny.
like,
Yeah.
they were just coming to the back. So I'd be like, just come to the back. And so I think people were like, what the fuck? Like, and then I do their hair. And then, like, they gave me shit like, oh, she only messed with the white boys. She only, and it was like,
That shit
well,
cracked me. I walked out of there with my fade and my braids, and they're
yeah,
like,
you
"What
would
the
get
fuck?"
faded and braided
I just
there.
feel eyes on me, you know.
But very much so. And like, I felt that way too. I knew my clients felt that way. And it was like, I want a comfortable spot for everybody. I
Hmm.
want the moms not to feel like they're getting hit on or sexually harassed every time they come in here. I want my white boys to feel comfortable. And, these guys, they're just talking. It's like it's a barbershop
That's a lot
talking
of shit.
shit. But
Yeah.
like, okay, you just said the N word 35 times in front of my white Mormon client. Like, just read the room. Like,
That's how Gateway, yeah, it's the total demographic difference. Because it's smack dab in the fucking Queen Creek and Gilbert. Like, that's
mm-hmm,
all white people.
total different demographics. But from there, it was just like, and then I had some gay clientele or some women or guys, and it was
Yeah.
like they didn't feel comfortable being in that shop or a lot of shops. So I was like, I want everybody to feel comfortable. Um, so that was like, I think I was just learning stuff about customer service and like just,
Oh,
the whole
and what you want
interaction.
your clients to feel and what you want your
Yeah.
clientele to be, and it's
And
discovering all that.
I think the shops before I was even like, okay, I can bring my son, he could chill out in the back or whatever. And then like my dad would drop my son off to the shop and he'd be like, why do you work like, ugh, like, what is this place? Like, and I'm like,
You are of higher class, Jay.
yeah, for my dad to be like, and normally he's like, okay, you have a job? And then for him to be like,
What is this?
what kind of job? What kind of place is this?
Lefties is such an experience though, because yeah, from going to Gateway to that, I was like, ooh, such a change.
But it was like a good experience. I learned a lot. I learned a lot with the females in the back, and they like were very supportive
They
and
were
like,
all so sweet too. They were all so
yeah.
nice.
And women, moms, and shit, they band together. So they're like, oh, they got you in the back. Like, well, you about to cut my son and my boyfriend and
Yeah.
my dad, and so like I started building clientele. Finally went out to the front, and then I think, they were still on that like, hurry up and beat Jay and get to the next one so she can't get him. But a couple of barbers, they were messing up clients. So then the client would come back in and be like, can you fix my hair to me?
Fuck.
And I'm like, well, he just did it. Like,
Ask him.
well,
I don't trust him.
I was
man.
watching you and you took your time and
That
you did the
is-
hot
that is
pal
hilarious.
and you put the oil in the product. Like, can you do it? And so it was funny because I feel like them trying to like step on my toes, it was
Bit him in the ass.
bit him in the ass, because a
Yeah.
lot of people started coming to me like, well, we see how you are with your clients. You take your time, you do this, you do that. Um, and then like I was building more clientele there, but it was still like a struggle bus being there. And I think they were like, they kind of hated on me, like, you're trying to be Insta famous, and like, no, I'm not from here. I'm trying to put my shit out
I don't
there.
know, like, why do people shit on that? I still don't get
I
it.
think it's like, well, you post your people too. Like, I'm not bothering
It's like,
you, or
wait, you're trying to be Insta famous? Oh, fucking cool.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
like
like,
I'm tagging you and
who doesn't want to be Insta famous? Like, or
but
not even just internet fame in general. It's like I don't even think it's you're just trying to make more money in different places, ideally.
ideally, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like if they're gonna hate on that, then it's like, well, you're just setting yourself up to fail.
Exactly. And so I just kept getting better. I was learning from some of the other barbers. Some of them were really cool and like, hey Jay, like if you start using this app to put your money through, after 6 months, they'll offer you a loan. Once you get your loan, then get that money and go get a suite or start on your own, or
Mm,
you could do this, or,
just good advice.
good advice. Like, Jay, keep doing the videos. Like, because now I can like get on there and
You
talk.
were going ham for a while. I mean, on
Yeah.
social media. You're following people. You're posting every day. You're
It's
posting
exhausting, but yeah,
time or
the stories
what is
and
it called? Not like the sped up videos. I'm trying to think of the name.
the time lapses.
Yeah, time lapses.
Yeah, I was doing all that, and some of them were like, "Chris, like keep doing it, Jay. Like, put yourself out there. Just keep talking. We love to see. Just keep. They want to see you. They want to hear you.
Just
like
activity and consistency. It's a big
And
deal.
so I learned a lot from there. And then I was one day, one of the barbers from that battle in Colorado, he called me like, "Hey, can you cut one of my clients' hair?" And I was like,
I trusted you. How awesome.
yeah, I was shitting bricks, because it didn't matter who it was, but it was like, this barber's
He had faith
so
in you.
good. And I was like, you want me to cut? Like, oh my God. Like, I said, man, I'll cut him because you trust. He said, Jay, I know other barbers out there who are much better. He's like, but you're reliable. I know you're going to show up. I know you're going to do the best you can, and I trust you.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I remember talking to him. I said, I'm not as good as you. Like, it's not going to be a good haircut, bro. And he was like, you're never, like, I'm not going to be like you. You're not going to be like me. Like,
Yeah.
it's different.
It is what
like,
it is.
But you're going to give him a good haircut. So just give him your haircut.
Yeah.
So that ended up being Jacob Nottingham. That's my baseball guy.
Oh, shit. Is
So,
that the jersey I broke? The frame I
yeah,
broke?
the jersey you broke. But it's fixed.
It's fixed. It's
all
hanging.
fixed.
It looks good.
It looks good.
That's all that matters.
So I started cutting him, and they would go to some condo downtown Phoenix. And there'd be days like I didn't make no money at the shop. Like, I was miserable. I was ready to like blow that place up too.
Mm-hmm.
And like they would call me 9, 10 o'clock, like, can you come?
But
And I'd be
yep.
like, fuck. Yup, here I
Gotta
come.
grind.
Yeah, so I went, and I go out there, and it'd be like one person this time, like, okay, come back again. We'll call you in a couple days or next week. And it'd be like another couple more.
Were you getting paid good for those too then?
I want to say I was charging like 40 or $50.
Here's my question to you, because I feel like when you raise your prices, how do you go to those clients that you've been cutting their hair for a while and tell them like, hey, I'm charging more now? Is that like an awkward conversation for you sometimes?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The money exchange is so awkward. And I'm taking a course right now, and it's like going over like raising your prices and being confident, setting the
That's what
boundary.
being confident is a hard, like, because I feel like,
It is.
I don't know, you and I both I'm like, I'm kind.
Yeah,
I was like, I
we're
feel bad.
nice,
I'm like,
aw,
and it's like, I don't want to charge more, but it's like, I need to charge more.
that's
and
what it
it's-
is.
yeah,
Like, my shit costs, so like I think like I think for a while it did, but then it was like, okay, I know the service I'm providing you, and like,
Yeah.
I'm giving you a hot towel, like I'm giving you a little massage, and if I don't have anybody else, I'm gonna throw this little facial mask on you, and like I'm gonna go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And so like it was hard, but I think just like, hey, I'm doing this, and I think my clients seen my growth. So
Mhm.
every year, every 6 months, they're like, oh damn, Jay, like you went to this many classes. We see that. And from the Instagram and me posting like, oh, you move sweets. Oh, you got another chair.
Just
Oh, you got.
moving the suites, that alone, I'm like, you could see the progression like within the last 5 years, where it's
Mm-hmm.
you started at Gateway, you went to Lefties, you then went to Guadalupe McQueen, that salon suite,
Mm-hmm.
and then you went to the House of Lion, I think, in between
Well,
that.
remember I went to that place
God, I keep forgetting that one.
in Mesa.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember the guy was doing the SMP, and I was there for like a little bit, like 6 or 7 weeks, and I was miserable there, and the lighting and just
Mm-hmm.
everything. But I was glad because I still had my suite,
Mm-hmm.
so it was just like, okay, cool, that place, I don't want to go there anymore.
Yeah.
And I just stayed at my suite, but like, yeah, it's definitely been like major transition. So I think like my clients, like, they kind of know my story and see my son, and like they're just pumped. So it's like, okay, Jay, like whatever, we will follow you, whatever.
No,
And I
it's the
think
same. I'm
like,
not gonna go get my hair cut from anyone.
yeah, and I think over the years, like, it's increased, but like I think also like I'm giving you a good value for the price. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like me also posting stuff like, this is what a haircut should cost, or like, these cheap ass places, this is what you're gonna get, you're gonna pay for, you're gonna get what you paid for,
When you're
like
gonna
people.
get like the big thing with you is you fucking remember stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah, I
this
do
shit.
remember.
It's like I get always like joking around. I'm like, talk to my barber. She knows everything,
I
and
do.
it's fucking true. You know about my family. You know about the girls I might have been fooling around with. You know about my friends and drama with that shit, and it's
Yeah,
like you
that
probably do that
connection.
with every one of your clients.
Yeah, I know a lot. The
Um,
connection. So I don't know if people just were like, we love you, Jay. Like, yeah. And I think they seen me working hard, and I think they also seen that it was like hard for me to like raise the price. But I also know I also was trying to target a certain demographic that wasn't gonna be
yeah, they're
worried
like,
about
I'm
my
not paying for
price.
$25 haircuts. What is that peasant shit?
Right, because then I think some people were like, that's it. And
Hmm.
then like when I was getting like, that's it, I was like,
I
oh, I
need to
need to
raise
raise
my
my
price.
prices.
Yeah.
And I think like I just was looking around at other barbershops, which what I needed to do was look at salons and the demographic of the area and like what people are making and go off that. Because then I look at the barbershop down the street and they're charging 20, 25, but I'm looking at a salon, and for a man's male haircut, it's like starting at 55.
That's
And
crazy.
it's just like, I do way more than they do at that salon, and I give a better cut and I'm more detailed.
I wonder if that's their way of trying to dissuade men from coming in, though.
I don't know, but I know like even after talking to you, like I never really went to a barber. I think like a lot of guys just like, oh, I go to where my girl gets
Yeah,
her hair
yeah.
done, or like, oh, I didn't really know the difference. And I think like people are just like, oh, it's just a haircut. Like it's,
I don't. I think Joey's the one who talked me into it. He's like, "You've never been to a barber?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You need to go."
yeah,
He's
it's
like,
a
"I got my girl," and that's what cracked me up.
Joey.
Joey.
Um, but yeah, I think
So crazy.
that money situation is a little awkward. But I think now I'm finally to the point where I'm like, I've done like a couple baseball players, and they had just been paying me like what they paid me, and then like going to their house and doing all this stuff, and then I'd like leave and be like, I don't feel like that was worth it. Like I just feel used, and it wasn't even like their fault. It was just like I never said anything, so like they're just paying me what it was, or
I feel like going to their house, and if you have to drive, you have to pack all your tools up, set up, get the lighting right, the fucking chair out. That'd be like 250 minimum.
so that's funny that you say that because I've been working with like a mentor, and we had like our hour talk this past week, and she's like, "Well, what would you be happy with?" And I was like, "Well, like this." She's like, I'm like, "It's reasonable." She's like, "No, what do you want? And what do you feel that you'd be like, yeah, I'll do it? Like you're taking all your stuff, you're in their bathroom, like you're bending over, you're doing, you're packing, you gotta
You're
clean."
and you're making shit work when it
Yeah.
shouldn't work.
And I was like, well, my haircut's this. She's like, okay, double it 4 times, which was 250. And she's like, are you happy with that?
And you're like, that sounds fucking great.
And I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay. So now when they call, like, this is what it is. And she just kind of was like, that's the value of my time. That's all you have to say. And I think
Mhm.
before, and Holly told me this because people be like, "Oh, your haircut is that how much?" And now I'm just like, if you're asking me how much my haircut is, like maybe
You're
you're
the
not
wrong
the
clientele.
wrong client, but
Yeah.
I'd be like, "Oh, well, I do the hot towel and I do this, I do that," and she's like, "Stop explaining yourself. Like that's
Yeah.
what your price is." And
That's
so,
what Tommy's told me at my markets and Myra too. Where it's like I give someone a free cookie, right? And instead of just saying, yeah, yeah, you want a free cookie on the house, I'm like, oh, you want a free cookie because I fucked up the whole batch and this is actually undercooked or overcooked or it's too flat, you know. And he's like, dude, just say like, you want a free cookie? That's all you need to say.
exactly.
And where I want to just over explain everything and make sure they know the honest truth.
Yeah, she's like, "Stop explaining. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's none of their business. Like get it, stop telling your business. Like you're oversharing." And I'd be like, "Well, I took this class and I'm doing this product." And she's like, "It's none of their business. Like if they see that you're doing it, like that's cool, but like that's what you're worth. Like you should
Mm-hmm.
get paid that." So I think it's just like that awkwardness, setting the boundary and being like, "No, this is what I'm getting paid for." And I think at this point, like I've worked enough jobs. I've spent enough time. You know, I'm like my fifth, sixth year into barbering. Like I've worked every damn
You
day.
have to be lying because maybe I was 19 when you first cut my hair. I don't know. I
Oh man,
swear I was
I
18 though.
don't know. I guess
I
so,
think it
cause
was
I'm
senior
like
year.
34. I graduated. I
Although
think
it could have been.
17. Yeah, 2016, 2017. I think I finished barber
Okay,
school.
so I would have been 19 then. Man, so I was. And so you were in Gateway pretty quickly out of barber school then?
Yeah, like 8, 9 months.
Fuck. That's been a while though.
Yeah,
That's pretty dope then. You've been cutting my hair since like you first were like
nah,
really
for real,
starting.
for real. Like
Crazy.
yeah, when I was like terrible.
I didn't care. Like I
Yeah,
said, I'm like, I got a barber now. You know, like it's a term of endearment. I go and tell someone, like, yeah, my barber.
yeah.
You know, and I know you're like, I want to be referred to as your friend, but I'm like, I like saying my barber.
No, and I like that, but you know what I meant when people
Yeah,
are like, "This is my," I'm like, "No, I'm your
I'm
friend."
your
But
buddy.
like, yeah, no, I get it. But I think, yeah, it's definitely been a journey, and I'm starting to be like, no, I want to make real money. Like, I don't want to
Oh,
stand behind the chair and like just give a regular haircut. Like, I give premium haircuts. I care about the service. I'm giving you an experience. I remember everything about you.
well, and
You
you
know.
can fucking hear it when you're talking about it. It's like you care. You want the person to have a good experience. You want their them to feel like their value is being met.
Mhm.
That matters to you, and I think that's the biggest fucking deal.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, when you're giving your service, when you're giving your product out, or whatever it may be,
Yeah, just
I don't
making
know.
somebody feel good.
There's love behind it. That's the
Absolutely.
big deal.
And I think like just like making someone smile and like they walk out of the chair and like you stand different, you
Mm-hmm.
walk different, like your whole everything is different, and just to like see that, it's better than the money, I think, because it's like instant gratification.
Yeah.
Like they're fucking happy and they're gonna be walking around, you know what I mean, and like they feel good about themselves or they're going somewhere and like this is going to make their experience better or that job interview or something like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think like
I,
just the love and passion.
my favorite thing is going to the gym after a haircut. That's when
Mhm.
it's like, oh yeah, people are looking at that fade. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's funny. It is such a confidence boost, especially when you're like, like I said, growing up, I would go to Great Clips. It's like, yeah, number two on the sides and a eight up top. That's what I would tell them. And
It's such a different 8 to a 2, and you see people's haircuts now, and I'm sure you're like, damn, like I'm
that
sure
was
you can
me at one
point out like
point.
that's a fucked up haircut. And I think people just, if you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't
That's yeah,
know.
that was my life, or my literally my whole life up until like I was 19 or whatever, and I met you and I got my first official barber haircut where it's like, and I remember the guy when he first cut it, he's like, we work with millimeters here. He's like, and Great Clips they're working with, I don't even know what he said, inches or something like that. He was
Hmm.
joking around, but I was like, that's true. So
Yeah, it's more, I guess, detailed. And I think a lot of people don't know those aren't barbers like at cost cutters and smart cuts,
super cuts,
super
whatever.
cuts, whatever it's called. They're cosmetologists,
Mm-hmm.
in which they're great and I'm sure they do a good job, but they're not like proficient with their clippers,
Yeah,
detailed,
it's like
straight
a
razor.
quarter of the time you guys put
Mm-hmm.
into just barbering alone, where
Yeah.
they do makeup, they do styling, dyeing, They're
Yeah,
more generalized, where you're specialized.
we're more specialized. So I think once people get that experience and they're like, oh shit, I can look
Mm-hmm.
nicer,
Yeah,
and
fuck, I look good.
yeah, they're like, oh shit, never going back. And then I
Yeah.
think they're like, okay, that does value, that is equal to the value of whatever the
Mm-hmm.
haircut costs. And like some people, they're like, oh, your cuts are too much. But like I think that's that person, like they would be okay with just anything. Like some people value more things than others, which is like
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, no, I'm going to this wedding. I'm gonna look like I'm gonna get that JD cut.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Well, and I guess where are you located right now?
I'm in Gilbert, so off Germain and Gilbert Road.
Okay.
My salon suites.
So
www.jdbarber.com.
yeah.
Shout out.
We're all the way, and then I'll share this too when it's once it's up. I need to really get social media down with this little hotspot or hospitality hotspot podcast.
No, I think it's a great, like, I, not just because you're my friend, but I, like, enjoy listening to it. And I think it's, like, it's different, like, and I'm not a big podcast person. So if I am listening to podcasts, like, motivational or something, a book or something.
It's always educational.
Yeah, educational. But, like, here I'm like, damn, I learned some shit. And, like, just, like, you got a good voice, like, and then everybody you've had on, it's like, huh, I didn't know
I don't.
that.
I always want to like. I mean, it'd be fucking cool to get someone who's like famous or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But general people, like that's the idea. I eventually want to get one of our dishwashers on at high tide, because he's a fucking dishwasher.
Right.
No one cares about a dishwasher, right? And
No.
but that's like the backbone of a fucking kitchen, right?
Yeah, if you don't have a dishwasher, you
You're
don't have
fucked.
shit.
You have
Yeah.
your cooks go back there. Everyone's morale's low. Everyone's pissed. Like
Mhm.
it. We've been there.
I did a dishwasher job too.
Yeah.
I did.
How long? Not long, right?
No, it was like 2-3 months. And what it was like like a short shift. I came in for like their dinner shift or something at the like senior home, and so we like once I did the dishes, it was only so much work for the time, but like I could do the work within like
Yeah.
an hour or two, and so like then I would be bullshitting, talking to the girls, like just being me,
Yeah.
and so they're like, Jay, like this is not working out. Like you're not doing shit.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, that was a hard, not a, it was an easy hard job just because it was like you had to be on it, but it was like
I probably
easy.
I was hired on at Seville as a prep cook, and then this was right after Taco Bell, so I went from Taco Bell to Seville as a prep cook. I was like, Joey, you need to come over and work over here, right? He applies as a prep cook. We both get hired on, but my chef's like, hey, Hunter, if he sucks at this job because he used you as a referral, you're both gonna get punished for it. He ended up sucking at the job. We both got punished, got demoted to dishwasher, and that's how I became a dishwasher.
Damn, did he suck that bad?
It wasn't dude, my chef was an asshole, dude. Total
That
asshole.
was
And
the
it's
guy
like
that's busting your balls all the time.
always. And it's like I don't think Joey sucked, but Joey was social. And we both were new at the job. We weren't I mean, we both went to culinary school, but they didn't train you. Like cooking, the biggest issue in a kitchen is the lack of training. There's no one to train people properly. So it's like
Mm,
you're kind of told, hey, you need to do this, but we're not going to show you how to do it. You need to just figure
right.
your shit out. And now I know because I'm fucking experienced at this point.
Mm,
But back in the day, I was like, wait, where's the macaroni? Where's the
yeah.
cheese? I need to make the cheese sauce. Where the fuck's that? Where's the recipe?
Where's the butter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, so it's like I don't blame Joey, but I blame the chef because they're so fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It blew my mind.
That's like
But
barber school. They teach you what they need to pass the test,
mhm.
but like once you get in the barber shop, you're like, oh shit,
Wait, what
like
am I doing?
what?
Are there some things you were taught in barber school that you don't even use?
Uh, yeah, I think like some stuff. Like, I mean, I do a little bit of color, but stuff like I'm never gonna do a perm or
I'll be your first
like.
one.
But like now it is good. Like if I needed to do a perm, I'm like fuck. I wish I would have paid attention more.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's good money. But I mean, there's stuff that it's like I think also too, just like you're there for so long and it's like fuck, like it's dragging on. And if there's not haircuts, and if there's so many more
Yeah, if it's
students
just
to what's coming in, like you're really just kind of like
bored.
twiddling your thumbs and bullshitting. So I
Mhm.
know a lot of the time, like I probably was like
It's just
spacey.
like over the head.
Yeah, because in some stuff I'm like, oh shit, we learned that in barber school. But like, I think a lot of the stuff like it's more like on the job experience. Like you, like once you get in there dealing with people, they can't teach you everybody's head shape. Everybody got a different head shape, a whirl, cowlick over here, a dent in their head, a little
I,
something here.
a dent in their head. Is that more common than not?
Yeah, a lot of people have like little growths or moles.
I know moles.
And like
Yeah.
I done went over a couple times like whoop or just combing. So it's like good to like comb the hair and like, do
Gotta
your
hide
little
it a little bit.
consultation so you can see, but like some people have like fat necks, like
Yeah.
rolls or like a rolly head or a lot of people have like pimples or
That's
ingrown
I'll get them
hairs.
occasionally on my neck.
So
But
just like, stuff like that, or people just their hair is coarser or straighter, or you have like, oh, I have a birthmark right there and it's like a bald patch. And it's like, oh, fuck, like you didn't, I wish you would have told me that. Because then I went too far up and now I'm
yeah.
just trying to cover it, just stuff like that. But that's like taking time to learn the client.
And
And then,
you learn with
after a
time
while,
too.
like with time, okay, like I can do your hair a little bit quicker because I know you, I know your hair. But like we sit and talk and bullshit the whole time, so it takes longer.
Mm-hmm.
But like I know I have my clients, I'm like, I'm gonna do 10, 15 minutes and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have my clients like, I have my guy Chris, and I'm like, fuck, he's always gonna be like an hour to an hour and a half, like
Mm-hmm.
no questions, cause it's like thick hair and like there's certain people it's like I want it to look this certain
Yeah, it
way.
needs to look good.
Yeah, so it just depends. But there's shit that they're not gonna teach you in school. But I think they should teach more of like running the business, starting your LLC, your bank account, your
That's
business
school in
credit.
school in general, dude. It's
They don't
like
set you up.
Myra's taking a course last semester at Chandler Gilbert, and it was like starting a small business. Like that's literally the name of the course. They didn't teach you anything about starting a small business. It was more of like, here's how to brainstorm an idea for a business. But it's like, wait, what organization do I contact to get my business license? What licensing do I need to open up a bakery? What, lawyers do I need to talk to figure out the legality of
None of
whatever
that.
I'm making, right? And that's not even fucking brought up. And
Yeah, which
it's
is
like,
crazy.
it's so dumb. And it's like, I almost think it's intentional though, right? Because
Yeah, they
no
do.
big business would support that because we don't want to educate our population. We need to keep them as followers,
Mm-mm.
not
No,
bidders.
they want you to work at Cost Cutters and
Yeah,
Supercuts and Floyd's and those places where you're gonna get a paycheck and just go. And I mean,
yeah.
that works for some people and they like it. They need that setup and that structure.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I was just like, I could
Nope.
do this by myself and
Mm-hmm.
better. And then, okay, you have a good structure, but like, you're not paying me not anything to do
Mm-hmm.
this, and I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
Like, no. So I think like just if they could set people up, because cosmetology school, like they definitely set up the cosmetologist a little bit better as
Well,
far
and
as product and payments and stuff like that.
that is some true shit though, right there. They put in a lot of work too.
Mm-hmm.
I know from the girls I talked to, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like most salons are like independently owned.
Yeah, I think so.
That's like probably one of the largest small businesses I can think of, at least in Arizona, right?
There's a lot of them.
Little ones. But
Yeah.
I guess should we wrap this up though? We're at 2 hours. Look at
Yeah.
that, crazy.
Dang.
Awesome. This is Hunter signing out from Hospitality Hotspot, and
Thank you, Hunter.
yeah, Jay, Joncie,
Thank you,
JD.
Barber.